And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Tom Hartman here with you. It is Friday. So, of course, it is time for Brunch with Bernie. Senator Bernie, the guy I think of as America's senator, although Vermonters know that he's their senator, and boy, are they pleased about it. Just reelected him. Senator Sanders, welcome back to the program.
Great to be with you, Tom.
I understand that the Business Roundtable, this shadowy group of the 100 CEOs of the largest companies in the world or in America, has some thoughts on Social Security. And I'm curious your thoughts on what happened with the filibuster.
Well, those are two really big issues. I think what interests me is that you have the Business Roundtable, which is essentially the organization representing the major corporations of America. Some of the corporations represented are Boeing, Honeywell, Dow, Procter & Gamble, MasterCard, Xerox, American Express, Eaton, J.P. Morgan Chase. This is it. And these are the guys who, by and large, in the last number of years have been doing extremely well. Profits are high. Many of the CEOs are worth tens of millions of dollars, if not more. Virtually all of them have very, very strong retirement programs for themselves. And they came up with a proposal reported in the Washington Post on January 18th, which calls for raising the eligibility age for both Social Security and Medicare to 70 years of age. So you have people, CEOs of large corporations who are phenomenally wealthy, running companies that in many ways are making record-breaking profits, folks who themselves have retirement packages that most people couldn't begin to dream about. And they are saying that what we have got to do is make it harder for working families, for the middle class, to have any kind of decent or secure retirement. Raising the eligibility age for Medicare to 70 from 65 would be an unparalleled disaster. Imagine how many people would find it impossible to find affordable health insurance, how many people would unnecessarily die or suffer. Imagine raising the retirement age for Social Security when you get benefits to the age of 70 and the amount of suffering that would entail. So at a time when the wealthiest people in this country are doing phenomenally well, while the middle class is shrinking, it is beyond arrogance for these Wall Street and CEO moguls to be telling American people that the deficit has got to be balanced on the backs of ordinary people. Meanwhile, all of these guys will do everything they can to prevent large corporations and the wealthiest people in this country from paying their fair share of taxes. But it gives you just an example, an idea of the arrogance that these folks have and the continued war that they are waging against working families and the middle class. Other issue I wanted to touch on briefly has to do with a vote that took place yesterday evening, and that was on the so-called filibuster reform, which turned out not really to be filibuster reform. Two issues that Congress, the Senate, was looking at is, number one, how do you make the Senate more efficient? How do you move things along at a faster clip in a body which is just waste an enormous amount of time because of a lot of arcane rules? The second and more important issue is how many votes does it require to pass a significant piece of legislation? I think the Senate made progress yesterday in making the body more efficient and moving things along in a faster clip. That's a step forward. But I voted against that legislation because I think at the end of the day, if we are going to address the major crises facing this country, and that is the decline of the middle class, massive unemployment, millions of people who continue not to have health insurance, young people graduating college deeply in debt, the major, major crisis of global warming, which if we do not address is going to lead to devastating consequences not only in our country but throughout the world, et cetera, et cetera. Enormous problems out there. We are not going to be able to address those problems if we need 60 votes. We simply do not have the votes to overcome Republican filibuster. So my own view is the Senate is not the House. People who are in opposition should have as much time as they need to get down to the floor of the Senate, explain their point of view, and tell the American people why they are in opposition. That's called a talking filibuster. But I think it is wrong to continue a practice where a senator simply calls up the cloakroom and says, I'm going to put a hold on this legislation, and you're going to need 60 votes to overcome it. I think that is wrong. It's undemocratic, and it's going to make it impossible for us to address the problems facing our country. So those are two of the issues, Tom, which seem to me to be standing out this week. I think the third point that I want to make is, as of last night, I became chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee on Veterans Affairs. It is a committee that I'm going to put a lot of time and energy into. I'm honored to have accepted that responsibility. And I would love, over the course of the shows that we do, to hear from veterans, tell me what they like about the VA, and the VA has doing a lot of very good work, and to tell me about the problems that they see. I will tell you that I think it was about a year ago, we had a veteran call up the show who told us she was concerned that she walks into gift shops at the VA and found that many of the products being sold there were not manufactured in America. As a result of that phone call, we have set in progress a series of actions which will significantly and are already significantly increasing the percentage of products sold in those shops that are made in America. So love to hear from veterans on issues of concern to them.
That's great. And the phone number for any vet who wants to share thoughts with the new chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee, Senator Bernie Sanders, is 866-987-THOM. Bernie, I'm curious, the Republicans have been in many cases kind of masters of theater when they're obstructed or when there's a problem. Back, I remember, I think it was the Sam Alito nomination when the Democrats ran the Senate, and they were, huffing and puffing about the nuclear option and all this. Do you think that even though the rules haven't changed, is it possible that the Senate might get a little more theatrical in opposition to Republican filibusters, or is it still going to be kind of this quiet, nobody pays any attention to it?
Well, I think the good news is that senators like Jeff Merkley, Tom Udall, and others, and I've been working with them, have done a very good job in raising consciousness on the issue. So I hope that the Democrats will be more aggressive and demand as much debate as possible on given issues. What ends up happening, Tom, is because there are so many things that have to be dealt with, we let the Republicans get away with murder and simply withdraw a bill rather than forcing the kinds of discussion that the American people deserve.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Bernie. Senator Bernie Sanders on the line with us. He's taking your calls next here on Brunch with Bernie on the Tom Hartman program. 15 minutes past the hour.